little extra work, guys. Compulsory 637. Okay. So then only we can able to complete the topics completely. Okay. That's the point. Yes. What is this swap memory? Swap memory is a kind of virtual memory. You have a physical memory. You have a physical memory is also there, right? Your physical RAM. For example, in my laptop, I have a 16 GB physical RAM is there. Okay. To run certain applications. So whenever you're running something, like I work this paintbrush, the paintbrush data, document, web browser application data, and what is the accessing data. Everything is there in the RAM only. While it is running anything, it's there in the RAM only. You closed it. Once you are closed in the RAM, in your system, it is gone from your system. Okay. So everything it will be in the your RAM only, nothing more. Okay. So again, what are the running process, applications, the files, data, everything load into RAM only. Once you close that process, or once you are closed this notepad, or once you close this paintbrush, or a document, or a web browser, it is those files, application, those files, programs, everything in the RAM will be gone automatically, closed automatically. Okay. So that is what RAM will do it. So in general, next, to run certain type of applications, your RAM is not only because what are the loading into the RAM, it will go to processor, process it and putting into the RAM. It's always is like that. So whatever it is, your input or your application or whatever it is go to your RAM. RAM to processor, processor to RAM, and RAM to your IO devices. This is the process. For running certain kind of, I'm telling this 3-4 times, running certain kind of application, running certain, okay. Yeah. The certain applications, it will share the load on the RAM as well as swap memory. Swap memory is a virtual memory. So think like this is a physical RAM, and physical RAM is physical RAM only. It is not a replacement of anything. You can't replace your RAM with any other thing. Okay. But there is a concept called a virtual memory concept. This virtual memory can be a part of your hard disk, or can be a file in the hard disk. Okay. You created a partition in the hard disk and say it is a swap memory. So it is our virtual memory. So what happened? The application, the current running thing will be stored in the RAM only. And that backend certain files should be required to be accessible, that will be stored in the virtual memory. It means certain applications use RAM as well as swap memory also important. Some applications physical RAM is enough. Okay. But this also part of disk only. The virtual memory is also a part of disk. It's located in your physical disk only. But physical disk formats are different. RAM file system is different. RAM file system called a page file system. Okay. So here it is, instead of just something folder like a temporary folder, the virtual memory is specifically it occupies certain space or as a certain partition or a file. Inside that partition, it is a page file system has to be defined. Means it has to coordinate with your RAM. It helps your RAM to run in applications and process kind of stuff. So again, with a virtual memory or a swap memory helps your physical RAM to run different kind of applications. Okay. So it's like a secondary type only, but it is still, it helps your physical RAM. You know, when you are trying to install, if in case, anytime, any possibility. So if you are installing Oracle database application into the Linux, so this Oracle database application first verifies the minimum requirement, CPU, RAM, disk space, like that it will verify first. Also, it will verify your swap memory. So RAM is required RAM is, for example, 4 GB for installing Oracle DB in the Linux. 4 GB is required RAM. So compulsory you have to give 4 GB RAM. Plus double the RAM swap memory is required. So it means your swap memory must be 8 GB. Okay. So then when you are installing a system or you are increasing your RAM capacity. Okay. It is already you define it's a 4 GB enough. But it also asks you to configure 8 GB swap. Swap is must be there. It must be double the physical RAM. It will verify. In case, as per your application, its swap memory is lower. For example, 4 GB physical memory, okay, 4 GB RAM, 4 GB swap memory. But now you want a 8 GB swap memory. So what you will do? You create another partition and make it as a swap partition. You have to mount to the existing one. Okay. Once again, I will go one by one point wise, guys. I told everything as a single story. So right. So I will go one by one. First one is what is virtual memory or swap memory? Virtual memory or swap memory helps your physical memory to run different kind of applications. It will load sharing with your RAM. Okay. Load sharing with your RAM. But virtual memory is not a replacement of physical memory. It's not a replacement of physical memory. And virtual memory is occupies your physical disk space. It okay, your physical disk space only, either as a partition or a file. Okay, this is virtual memory. What is the second point of virtual memory? Sometimes, certain applications specifically require a swap memory. Some application don't require, but some application may require a specific size of swap memory, means including RAM and swap, or according to RAM swap, it required. So in that cases, compulsory you have to maintain that ratio. So most of the cases, it asks for RAM into 2 times of swap memory. It is, so RAM is 4 GB, swap is, it must be 8 GB. RAM is 2 GB, swap is 4 GB. RAM is 3 GB, swap is 6 GB. RAM is 8 GB, swap is 16 GB. So double the RAM size must be swap memory. But in certain applications, will verify like that. Okay. Next. In case your swap memory as requirement is lesser. Okay, your swap memory is existing swap memory in your system is lesser than requirement. Generally what we do it, I install a PC with a 2 GB RAM. Linux system, RAM is 2 GB. So I created a swap is 4 GB. Now I want to install this Oracle DB. So I increase this 2 GB to 4 GB. That's it. But swap is 4 GB only. So what is my Oracle application is doing? Oracle DB application. Physical is 4 GB and virtual must be 8 GB. It's not in 8 GB mode. Then there's put a one big question mark. It's not 8 GB. It's not double your physical RAM. So what I have to do? How to create one 4 GB swap partition and add it to the existing one. Then I will get a 8 GB. Because swap is a part of your hard disk, either a file or a partition. So what I have to do? Create another partition. Create a partition and make it as a swap partition. Make it as a swap partition and attach it to your swap memory. Attach it to your swap memory. Then your total swap will be increased. This is the steps, guys. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to this the last step. Okay. Understand anything about swap memory?
Yes, sir.
It is almost all steps like a disk partitioning related steps only. Small differences like file system difference, mounting differences are there. First of all, how much my total swap? Command is swap on -s. It's showing currently I have a two swap partitions are there. Okay. So for you, it will shows only one. So first one is around a 4 GB. Second one is around a 2 GB. 4 GB and there is a 2 GB. Total it is 6 GB. How we will know? Again, swap total memory, type top command. The top also it will shows what is your total swap memory. How much it is? Total 6 GB. And how much it is free? How much it is utilizing? You can also see your memory, total memory, how much is free, how much is used, how much is available buffer cache kind of stuff. Okay. How to go out? Queue. Okay. So one way of checking. So what is one way of checking? Swap on space -s, it will display all swap related information. Means what are the amount, what is the partition information and what is the total memory, you can get it. Another one is top command also you can get it. Another one is top command. Okay. One more is there. That is called a /pro/ CPU info, sorry, mem info. CPU info, mem info, memory rated, mem info. So can you see memory total and a swap total? Okay, swap total 6 GB, memory total something 1.5 GB it is shown. Okay, or you can specifically grab swap total /pro/mem info. I wantedly done some mistake, so there will be an answer. I'm not getting properly. I think the spelling is correct, but it may be in a different cases. I want to ignore the case. What are the case? Actual case. I want to get it. Okay. It can be capital small letters in that actual location. I want to ignore these cases. What option I have to use it? What option I have to use it? Actually, swap is S is capital. In total, T is capital. But I've written everything is small letters. Whatever it is, whether it is all capital or small letters, some capital, some one. But I put a some one. Even the spell list must be, the keyword must be matches, but without cases too. Without cases. Okay, cases can be anything, capital, small, no problem. What option I have to give? Grab? What option? -V, -N, -C, -A, -B, -I, -Z, -X. Which one? Meaning is you're not practicing. Practice will take half an hour time. So one day, full day class, you want to practice, it will take maximum half an hour time. If you take much time, it's a half an hour to 40 minutes max. Tell me an option. Any guesses? At least you understand the question. Nothing. -I. Ignore the case sensitive. Same for mem total, memory total. Mem total. What happened, guys? Don't know, don't know, not practiced. Okay, what we are going to do is, we are going to create a partition, a 2 GB of partition. We are adding the 2 GB partition to this existing swap. Okay, so how to do it? Again, same thing, you are creating a partition. Okay, the name of the disk is same as SDA. That's 200 GB total disk. Out of that one, we are already created 8 partition by strike. How much free space is available? Based on that, also you have to check it. Okay. Of disk space slash dev slash SDA. First, I want to verify the partition table 8. And is any space is available? 50 GB is available. Okay. I want to create a new partition and default one is 9. Yes, very good. Enter. First, automatically same. So I'm about to do. Got to specify how much size plus 2 GB. I want to create a 2 GB plus 2G. Okay. So plus 2G partition is created. And the type of partition is Linux file system. Okay. Partition number is 9. But thing is, I want to use this partition specifically for swap purpose. See how to specify it is a Linux swap. How to change it? See. Which partition? 9 only. Okay. You want to list of the things. So you can see 19 is belongs to Linux swap. 19 is belongs to Linux swap. So convert into Linux swap. So it's by default Linux file system. It should be converted into Linux swap. Print the table. See. So instead of you are getting a Linux file system, you got a Linux file system on that one. Okay. Swap is I made I said this partition type is Linux swap. And verify anything is still 48 GB is available. Very good. I put a W for saving it. Also, you can run this daemon or partgrove. Also, you can run it. You can use partgrove. Next, create a directory, right? So here we are not creating. So first step is completed. Creating partition is completed. I change the type to Linux swap. Next is define a file system. But here we are not for file system. Is different for a swap. Okay. So not like NTFS that you want put. No. It should be help to our RAM, right? So then RAM related file system should be there. So max swap, make swap, MKFS. Okay, make swap slash dev slash SDA 8. But not 8, it is 9. 9 Linux swap partition 9 2 GB 9. Make swap. Now it is setting up swap space version 1, size is equal to 2, and something it is done. UUID is generated. So make swap. I make this ninth one is as a swap memory. Okay. Now you can want it. So as earlier, we have two partitions. One is 4 GB, another one is 2 GB. Okay. I want to mount it. How to mount it? Swap on slash dev slash SDA. You see, another GB, another one is added. You can also do this total kind of stuff. So what is a memory total? What is swap total? Now it has become 8 GB. But whatever it is, you are doing swap on or swap off. Okay, swap on. Okay, when you restart your PC, this swap memory is also disconnected automatically. To avoid it, specify that one in the fstab. We can also specify the swap memory into the fstab using BLK ID or just the names also possible. Just you want to try to read that previously attached, just also see. Okay. Your silence make me. Okay. So three are there. Right? So I'm going to remove our swap off. How to remove swap off? Slash dev slash SDA 9. Sorry. Okay. See now again. Test it. So there is a command. For example, I'm going to swap off this slash dev slash SDA 6. See, total memory is reduced. See, it's become 4 GB. But when I put a swap on -a, it's automatically mounted that 2 GB. But our 9 is not mounting automatically. You know why? It is because of fstab slash etc slash fstab. See, the swap memory is our 2 GB memory. Here it is. I mentioned that. Okay, this is my system default. When system is created, that time swap memory. This is the extra 2 GB swap memory. You want to add your swap memory here. Also, you can directly add it. You can generate UID or directly also with the names. Also, you can add it. Okay, how it is? Device name or UID. Way to mount swap. Okay, what is file system? Swap like that. See, slash dev slash SDA 9. Way to mount swap. Okay, what is file system? Swap. False. Zero. Same way. Here it is swap come. There it is folder file system come. Again, I'm putting swap A. I didn't mention that name also. It is swap A means it will check everything in the Linux. It is finished. This is how to make the swap partition. Yes, sir, understand. It's become 8 GB again. Nothing, no one is speaking. So guys, next is LVM. So it is very good concept. My favorite concept. It is, I use it generally for demo.